Hello, my name is Holly McNamara, and today we will be talking about behaviourism as a learning theory. When we talk of behaviourism, the first idea that you might think of is Pavlov's dog experiment, where he found that the sound of a bell right before giving them food resulted in the dogs salivating at just the sound of the bell. Now, we certainly aren't going to train our students to start drooling, but behaviourism can be used to shape behaviours so that students are ready and able to concentrate on learning. There are two types of behaviourist theory. They are classical conditioning and operant conditioning. First, we will look at classical conditioning. Classical conditioning aims to provoke a behaviour in response to a stimulus. Ivan Pavlov's experiment was just the starting point. John Watson later also looked at the link between sensory stimuli and learning. His experiment involved a toddler called Albert, who was subjected to loud, startling noises when presented with a white rat. This resulted in the child Albert associating the rat with loud noises and responded in fear each time the rat was presented. Interestingly, this experiment also showed that Albert showed the same fear response from other things that shared similar characteristics with the rat, such as rabbits or dog's fur. So how would you use classical conditioning in a classroom setting? Imagine your classroom is full of students doing group work. It is now time for them to focus on you. Your stimulus is a few seconds of a song or tune. The first time you try this, students may be slow to respond or only respond out of curiosity. With repetition, students will know that that particular sound means that they must concentrate on you. This could be used at any time. For example, if your students are in a large group of other students, that song can be used to prompt them to look for you for more information. Be conscious of what stimulus is used. You want it to be unique to this specific situation and unique enough that students don't associate other songs so they aren't distracted when they need to be. So now you have conditioned your class with a stimulus, the song, and their response is their attention. Classical conditioning, like any other theory, has its limitations. The stimulus and response needs to be continued for it to be effective. For example, if you start playing the song and not require your students' attention, eventually they will stop associating the song with the desired behaviour. However, classical conditioning is great for controlling and instructing students. It can be used to prevent or promote certain behaviours using just about anything. Now we will look at operant conditioning. This theory uses reinforcement and punishment to shape behaviours. Reinforcement is aiming to increase a desired behaviour, as opposed to punishment, which seeks to decrease the behaviour. Also, the reinforcement or punishment is classed as either negative or positive. Positive means something is added, whereas negative means something is taken away. So, positive reinforcement adds something to increase the likelihood of a behaviour, such as praise, merit stickers, or lollies. Negative reinforcement takes away an often unpleasant thing as a reward for desired behaviour. Examples of this are being able to leave class early or a homework pass. Positive punishment adds something to decrease an undesired behaviour. An example of this is students being given detention. And lastly, negative punishment adds something. Negative punishment takes something away in order to decrease a behaviour. Often, a privilege is removed, such as being kept in class during lunch breaks. The privilege of leaving is being taken away. Operant conditioning is more complex than classical conditioning. The reinforcements of behaviour must be consistent and often take time and effort to set up and maintain. For example, a high school teacher who often will teach several groups of students throughout the year, may find it cumbersome to keep track of students' behaviour on a merit or star chart, whereas a primary teacher with one group of students during the year can set this up easily. Another problem can occur when parents or other teachers have opposing views as to what is acceptable and unacceptable behaviour, though that is just one part of the theory. Operant conditioning can be helpful in shaping behaviours that need to be consistent, such as good habits, like arriving to class on time or interacting with other students appropriately. Behaviourism doesn't focus so much on how students learn content, but rather how they learn to behave, which can provide the foundation for other learning theories. A well-behaved student is more likely to focus and learn than a misbehaving student. In my own schooling experiences, classical conditioning was used at early stages of learning. This is where you learnt that the bell meant to go to class, or someone standing at the front meant to pay attention to them. These behaviours are consistent and by high school are second nature and expected of you. Again, operant conditioning techniques were more often used in early education. All aspects were used by my primary teachers, positive and negative, reinforcement and punishment. Like stated before, this is probably because it's easier to track one group of students' behaviour and be consistent in its application. One teacher employed the use of a sticker chart in which you could gain or lose stickers in response to noted behaviours. These stickers could then be traded for fun things like scented pencils, going to lunch early, or choosing a game to play in free time. Whereas in high school, teachers most often use punishments to deter behaviour, mostly detentions, calls home, or the loss of privileges such as free periods. This is probably because it can be employed straight away and behaviour begins to change faster using punishments. In conclusion, behaviourism aims to shape the behaviours of students. We've looked at classical conditioning, which uses a stimulus to produce a conditioned response, and operant conditioning, which is used when increases or decreases of behaviour are reoccurring. Often these techniques are used in earlier periods of education, and students form habits that continue on into higher education.